The Cantina Club was the original Star Wars fan club circa 1978, back in the day when Bantha Tracks was the most information you could get about the Star Wars franchise before there was a Star Wars franchise. All the cool kids met behind the piano under the stairs. You had to know the password. You could listen to the soundtrack on cassette tape.
Where do you get the blue milk?
I don't know what else to say.
That's damn
All know round here, Solo always does shots first. Singing your no, raise your glass, and sing your no. Sing it with me, your no.
Everyone had a name. Everyone had a job.
At the Cantina Club.
Finally, it's really cool to see him totally enjoying his evil and letting loose with the dark side, especially after the two prequel movies that were so boring and dour. To see somebody actually having fun in a Star Wars movie again was awesome.
Greedo, care to take a shot?
Stick around. You'll be lucky just to
I guess
lose
that's a
hand.
big
I feel like I'm being set up because we all know that you're going to shoot first. So, yes, I bet you have. Anytime I'm told to take a shot, I know I'm about to get my head blown off.
At the Cantina Club.
The first thing I thought of when I saw that movie was, there's your young Han Solo for sure. Maybe he's just an incredible actor that
I was
can
gonna say,
pull that
first
off.
of all, he's not playing on there.
Right, I know he's not playing on there, but he's playing a human being that I'm supposed to be looking at without pity.
What is it?
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
This isn't going to
The
be
Cantina Club.
Good luck.
Little did they know it would end in murder. You know that guy.
I know exactly.
I love that guy.
Come on, sing your no. At the Cantina Club.
What are your earliest memories of the Cantina Club?
Well, Gundark, I do remember the original location, which was my favorite. I know we eventually expanded, but I loved the little, I guess we'll call it almost like cubby hole under the stairwell behind the piano in the old apartment, and I just thought it was cool. You know, I thought it was kind of a neat little place to kind of crawl in behind there, and you know, we had a little lamp to light everything, but everything was, you know, all the walls were covered.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought it was
remember the
really
lamp.
cool. Yeah.
And at some point, we designed a door. Because
Yeah.
it was a triangular opening. It was
Right.
a triangular opening, and we designed a door out of what, cardboard or
Yeah,
something.
we put a piece of cardboard over it.
Right.
And I think it said "Do not enter" or "Club members only" or something. And wasn't there like a password to get in? If somebody was in there, you had to say a password or
Oh,
something.
yeah, I think I remember that, but I don't remember what the password was. Uh-oh.
No, I don't.
Oh, well, you would be rejected then.
Yeah.
No way.
And I'm club secretary. I didn't keep track of the password.
It's not a secure password if it wasn't changed over 40 years, you know.
Gundark, you're out.
And I remember we covered the back of the piano and the walls under the stairwell with Star Wars cards, trading cards,
Oh, yeah.
every poster we could get a hold of, clippings from newspapers, stuff that were like clippings of ads of showings of Star Wars. So we had the whole thing papered. I remember that. Oh, and I remember
New acquisitions.
I can't remember how we got the name Cantina Club. And I don't remember exactly when all three of us began. It would have had to have been 78. But
Yeah, it was 78.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember why we chose Cantina Creatures as our general theme. We thought of that clubhouse as being like the cantina in a way, and we called our newsletter Tattooing Times, and it was we would put fanciful events in the newsletter of stuff happening on Tatooine, and we sometimes we would make up stuff, like, the moisture evaporators are doing this or that, or Tashi Station is,
Right.
somebody was at
What's going on at
Tashi Station.
Tashi Station?
Yeah, I mean, we just made up stuff like that.
Anchorhead.
So for some reason, we, instead of making it, like the Death Star Tribune or something, we were focused on we liked the cantina scene. And Greedo, I always loved that scene with Greedo and Han. I was always fascinated by the Greedo creature and the way he spoke, and his language was so cool and fully realized and everything. So I think that was just the natural choice for me.
Now, I don't remember how I got the name Gundark. It would have had to have been after Empire Strikes Back.
Right,
Yeah,
that's the
Um,
first time
that's
Gundark's
1980.
ever entered
Yeah,
the
so
lexicon.
you guys
yeah.
may have been the original named members, and I may have chosen a name later.
Came later, yeah.
I don't even remember how. I do remember inducting Corellian into Cantina Club. So it must have started with the clubhouse in the apartment where Greedo and I lived, behind the piano, and then we inducted our friend Corellian, and we held an awards ceremony. This has been after the original Star Wars. We held an awards ceremony like the end of New Hope, where we had I stood on the stairwell, the center of the stairs, and Greedo stood next to me, and Corellian climbed the stairs, and I put a medal around his neck, and that's how he became a member of the Force works.
Yeah.
Who made you the boss?
So we
What
were
was
the
the-
original.
What was the medal? What was the medal made out
I
of?
have no idea. I don't remember.
It was probably a ribbon or something.
I have
Yeah.
vivid memory of the ceremony, but I don't remember
I would-
anything else.
Give anything to still have that medal. That would be amazing.
And then we must have given him the password, I guess. I don't know.
Do you remember?
Medal first, password next.
Do you remember choosing your Cantina Club name?
Yeah.
You do.
I mean, I don't remember like the moment, but I remember, the thought process behind it.
What was the thought process?
Well, at the
behind it?
time, I mean, my favorite character was Han at the time, and obviously he's Corellian, so I just kind of adopted that as, even though that's like a race, I guess, I adopted it as a name. And the funny thing is, the full name, of course, as we know, is Corellian Traitor.
Right.
Is my full name.
Traitor, not traitor. Traitor.
But it started as Trader, because that's what Corellians sometimes did. They were traders.
Right.
So it started, but then it said it sounded funnier when you said it fast, like Corellian Trader. It sounds like Traitor. So that's how it kind of evolved into Corellian Traitor.
Which has since become like a meme in Star Wars. The whole traitor.
Exactly. Yeah, Traitor. Exactly from the
Yeah.
from the new.
And you had your own newsletter and stuff. You began the Dantooine Times or the Dantooine Trading Post or something like that.
The Times. Yeah.
Was it Dantooine? I think it was the Dantooine Times, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of like because obviously the Cantina Club official was the Tatooine Times, and mine was
Yes.
the Dantooine Times.
I think where you came up with the Corellian name was also from Wedge, because
That's true. That's very true.
Even in Star Wars, at some point they mentioned that Wedge was Corellian.
Standing by.
Yeah.
Was a Corellian.
Like maybe
Yeah,
in the novelization or
In the
something.
novel or the comics or something, like early on somewhere, we always knew Wedge
Yeah.
was a Corellian. They kind of backed off that, I think, later.
Yeah.
And acted like, I don't know that he's mentioned as a Corellian, but we always thought the two Corellians in the saga were Han and Wedge, So you were such a big Wedge fan that I think that is another reason why you're like, I want to be from the planet that Han and Wedge are from.
Han and Wedge.
Red 2, standing by.
Which is clearly Dantooine.
Right.
Sorry.
It sounds like Tatooine. So
Yeah, right. It
it's
sounds
the
cool.
remains of the old Cantina
And it's
Club.
a planet mentioned in the saga, so
I do remember thinking of the clubhouse as the cantina. And then I
very
remember
dark and spooky.
Yeah, I remember,
Like the
the
cantina.
the events and everything that we were counting in our newsletter. And then we had the expanded clubhouse when we moved to a house, and we moved from a cubby hole behind the piano to a walk-in closet where we had a lot of room to do toy displays. I remember we put up a couple of toy displays on the shelves in the closet. We hung posters on the door. We had a lot more wall space for posters and things. And then we even had book racks where we could show off our media collection. And this is one of the, I think, neat things about when you're thinking about social media today. And how people are able to get a hold of so much information, spoilers and things about movies coming out. How it was in our time when the original trilogy was coming out. We had to wait 3 years in between each movie, and we had to scramble around to get every little tidbit of information that we could from science fiction film magazines, from newspaper clippings. We collected newspaper clippings and things like that in a shoebox. We had a book rack full of science fiction magazines, and Starlog, I think, was our favorite that we probably got the most.
Yeah, I think Starlog was usually I know it was always my favorite.
Yeah.
It always seemed to have the coolest pictures and things like that.
Yeah, we had a good Starlog collection, and then we also had an audio-visual collection but originally in the days before the VCRs, we had cassette recorders, and we would record audio off of television, interviews and things like that on cassettes. And then when we got an old beta recorder, television recorder, we would set it up to record the morning shows whenever one of the movies was about to come out, so we could record interviews.
Right, the Good Morning Americas and Today shows and all that.
Yeah.
All the reviews and everything too.
Yeah. Well, like what was the show on Saturday with Gene Shalit and Roger Ebert?
Yeah.
At the movies, or Siskel and Ebert?
Yeah, Siskel and Ebert at the movies. Yeah,
that was always neat.
We recorded a lot of those, and I think that's how we found out that Luke and Leia were brother and sister, that there was actually a spoiler on the Today Show when Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I remember finding
came
out for the movie.
You remember that? Yeah. There was a scene, they showed the scene where Luke told Leia that she was his sister.
Oh, right. I
On the
remember that
Today
now.
Seen it
Show.
on the
And
news.
we were at school that day,
Tell me,
and we
what's
left
troubling
the
you?
beta recorder set to record the Today Show because we knew there was going to be a report on Return of the Jedi. And we get home and we're watching the tape, and we're, oh my
What is it?
God!
What?
Luke just came out and told Leia that she's his sister.
I don't know who you are or
Yeah,
where you
that
came
was how
from.
we got information about the movie.
Exactly.
And we should have also mentioned how we did stuff like overdub the movies, and because all I was going to say was back when we started the Cantina Club, of course there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was no fandom, no conventions. The conventions were for Star Trek fans and science, nerds and stuff. But we did all the stuff that people do today via the internet, and all the things that you see developed today, we tried to do without even really knowing what we were doing back then. We wrote reviews of movies we saw just because we enjoyed reading and writing. So we would, and we liked Siskel and Ebert and all. We were influenced by this stuff. So we would see movies and we'd write a review to go in the newsletter. We would draw cartoons. We would draw single caption cartoons. We'd draw comic strips. We would do discussions. We would gather news and share news together and stuff, which is a big thing. Goes on YouTube and stuff all the time now. So we were originally doing all this stuff because there was nothing else like what we wanted to do out there anywhere. And we were members of the Star Wars fan club, the official Star Wars fan club, but it was a Bantha Tracks issue 4 times a year or something at most. And that's about it. There was no website. There was no... but you got cool things directly from Lucasfilm. But there was no central place to go get news, to go read reviews, to share things with other fans. So we created that. That's what the Cantina Club was originally.
Yeah, exactly. That's well put.
It's true.
So on the subject of magazines, what were the main magazines we used to collect? I'm trying to, because there was Starlog, there was Fantastic Films.
Fantastic Films, yeah.
There was Famous Monsters of Movieland or whatever, just basically Monsters is what we called it because it was so big. I remember they used to have some cover articles on it. I'm trying to think of any others that were, I know there were more than that were regular things that we would get.
Do you remember
Fangoria?
Fangoria?
That's one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tended more towards horror, but Star Wars was a big moneymaker, so they did Star Wars stories. But yeah, I'm trying to remember any of the others. Those are the ones that
There
immediately
were
jump to
some
mind.
really, really cheap ones that just ran back when we were kids, and they were almost like photocopied quality.
Oh yeah,
And they would
Yeah.
slap together tons
The
of pictures
quality.
on the cover, and they were like star something. I still have a bunch of them. We have a bunch of them, but they look really, really cheap and one-off. They were just little money grabs, and they never had anything really new. They just processed usually, the pictures and stuff from other sources.
Yeah.
But they were still cool to have. But then there were like the official cinema magazines. They always did
Right.
like a feature magazine on the different movies and on Alien and stuff like that. Cinemastique or Cinema.
Yeah, I
Things.
remember
I
that.
can't remember.
What you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, we have a bunch of those too, and we used to get those when they featured it. And of course, People and sometimes like Time magazine and all the just regular magazines
Yeah,
would do
of course,
cover
the regular
stories.
news
If
magazines.
it had a cover story on Star Wars, we bought it
You
usually.
can get it automatically. And what was the one that always has the really in-depth behind-the-scenes kind of? Was that Cinefex?
Yeah,
Oh,
Every
yeah,
month it would have its
That's
own,
what I was thinking
its
of,
own
yeah.
movie, and it would literally just have an entire, issue about the behind-the-scenes and the special effects and the model making and stuff like that for that particular film. I remember they had some good Star Wars issues.
Yeah.
Yes,
And we had
like-
a book rack that it was actually for greeting cards, and we would put our magazines and our books on display
Yeah.
in the clubhouse in
Yeah.
the book
We had a
rack.
library.
Yeah, we had a
books,
library.
everything.
hmm
And then we had the
That's
shoebox
awesome.
full of clippings. And then we had we started our own newsletters. We had Tattooing Times as the official newsletter for the Cantina Clubs.
Which
Dancing
you were
Times.
behind that, really.
Yeah. As a
You were the editor
secretary.
and creator and all of that.
Yeah, I was the editor of the Tattooing Times. And then Corellian did a spin-off newsletter, the Tattooing Times.
hmm
And Tattooing Times, I think we included listings of all of our latest acquisitions of new toys that we had bought, all of the latest media that we had recorded off of television or newspaper clippings we'd taken on the newspaper, new books or magazines we had bought. All of them were listed in the Tattooing
is
Times. And then we
pointless.
wrote our own reviews of the
Right.
movies. And
Because of you, we actually kept records of a lot of stuff that probably 99% of people out there didn't keep records
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
You can find the dates when we bought things and when things came out, and it's pretty interesting, actually.
yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, to have a list of every interview that we recorded this week. We
Yeah.
list in the
It's almost like a Star Wars fandom diary or something.
yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Indeed, you are.
And
The Emperor
we have all
has
those interviews and things from television somewhere recorded. Just tons
a
of
lot
them.
of that's on beta VHS, beta recordings before we got the or beta VCR before we got the VHS VCR.
Good work, Commander.
So this is old stuff, and like I said, the
Oh,
first
yeah.
stuff was on cassette recordings, and I think we even did Cantina Club news reports before we started the newsletter. We did news reports when we got our first cassette recorder as kids, playing around with it. We did Cantina Club news reports, and we'll have to see if we can find some of those. And then tell about recording The Empire Strikes Back on your cassette tape.
Tell about.
It's
Tell about
freezing.
it. I'm fixing to tell about it.
What have you done?
No, back in 1980, we didn't have video recorders. I don't know when the VHS came out and the beta came out, but we didn't have. None of the movies were on home video yet. So we had a tape recorder that had like 16 D-sized batteries or C-sized batteries, and it weighed like a ton. And we would take it into the movie theater with us because we were completely shameless, and no one gave a crap back then. There was no bootlegging. Nobody was worried about,
Good work.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'd take the cassette player, we'd go sit on the front row, and like every 15 minutes you would hear as we were ejecting the tape, just trying to turn it over in the dark. Turn it over in the dark, and then is it recording? Is it? Yeah, I see. I think it's spinning. And so we recorded The Empire Strikes Back on like I don't know, 6 of those cassettes,
Don't
just
make
back
me
to back. We
destroy
bought
you.
a whole thing in plastic, multi-cassettes in plastic, and we're tearing it open in the theater and leaving all the debris everywhere. We lived in the theater. They knew
Yes,
us. They didn't.
He will
Yes.
join us or
But
die,
so we have many
Master.
tapes of The Empire Strikes Back. I have them still, and I'm going to check and see if they actually have held up over time, and what kind of audience reaction and stuff is on there.
Where are those transmissions you
Very
intercepted?
Cool.
nice. Very nice.
And we took those cassettes home, and I remember listening to those over and over and over again,
Yeah, me too.
because the music, the dialogue, all that stuff was so cool. We didn't have any of that, so they definitely got listened to.
And then we also organized parties. We partied all the time. We had a party for every Star Wars related event that we could possibly think of.
Yeah, because we even celebrated like the actors' birthdays, um, the annual release date of the movies and stuff like that, and how many years old Star Wars was at that point, which was like 2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah, every Star Wars anniversary.
Yeah.
Everybody's birthday too. For every club member, we would
Mhm.
have parties.
Right.
I would make the cakes and decorate the cakes.
Mhm.
We had the Ewok execution parties
Oh no.
where we took the Ewok figures
Now
and blew
that's
them up
something to
with
celebrate.
M80s later. Yeah,
And
With M-
then a big part
when
a
they
big
were still
part
legal. Yeah,
of-
we gave a Wicked. Was it Wicked? Viking funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. Viking funeral.
We put him out on a lake we created a raft and put him on the raft and loaded it with M80s and lit the fuse and pushed it out on the lake.
We did do some pyrotechnics with action figures. I remember one time we
Yeah.
had a party where we did that.
Mhm.
We gave a Viking funeral to some action figure, and we shot another one with Roman candles.
Roman
Put 'em
candles,
up on a
yeah.
wall.
Oh wow.
And we doused him in alcohol first, so that if the Roman candle ammunitions hit him, he'd catch fire. We hoped.
Special effects. We became more advanced in our special effects for our
You
party.
only knew the power of the dark side.
But
Very nice.
another big part of our history was, of course, going to the movies together. And this is what I wanted to ask you guys, because I don't remember. I remember seeing Star Wars with Greedo. I can't remember seeing Star Wars: A New Hope with all 3 of us together.
I
Do
don't
you
think
remember?
we did. I don't think we did, because obviously we know Empire and Return of the Jedi. We'll get to that, but yeah, because Star Wars, I still remember very vividly. Of course, the first time I saw it, the theater, literally what it felt like that day. What I did. It made that much of an impression on me. But yeah, I have no memory of seeing it with either of you.
Yeah.
At least upon on the first release.
I think I
Find
went
your lack
to
of
it
faith
with Greedo for his
disturbing.
birthday. I think we actually didn't go to see it until July, so it had already been out for over a
Mhm.
month before we went to see it.
See, that's when I saw it. I saw it right at the beginning of July. It was either late June or early July
Yeah,
when
and
I
then
saw it.
yeah,
It
then
had
we
been
missed
out
it.
for about a month, maybe a little more.
Yeah, but we did go to Empire Strikes Back together, right?
Yeah, we went to that together. Yeah,
That is
Okay.
correct.
yeah, that was.
You guys sat
Yeah,
together,
we went to
and
the
I
premiere of
remember
that.
this was the only Star Wars movie that my dad took me to. We got out of school that afternoon. I think we couldn't actually go to morning showings or anything like that because we were in school. And we got out of school that afternoon and went to the first showing after school. And my dad took us, and I sat next to my dad, and I think you
Yeah.
guys sat together.
Well, originally we did.
Yeah.
I think we all ended up back on the same row, because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
sitting next to Gundark when Luke got his hand cut off.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because I remember
When I nearly
still
fainted.
her reaction, and the sound she made when that happened. So I think I was alone up front after Corellian bailed in the Walker scene.
Yeah.
Again, this was the Park Theater in Memphis, which was just a big single screen building, and the screen was
Massive.
massive.
Yeah.
You had to crane your head to see.
It was the
one
IMAX.
side.
It was the IMAX before IMAX existed.
Yeah, it was it was, I guess, 35 millimeter film or whatever,
Yeah.
but it was a massive screen. They had quadraphonic sound. Its big premiere was like Earthquake. I remember
Yeah.
Earthquake, like they were advertising it would
One of those
shake the
early
whole
70s
building.
disaster
You'd feel
movies,
like
yeah.
you were in the earthquake, and which I didn't go see that, but
No.
we saw Empire there, and yeah, the Walker scene was so impressive when the ground started to shake and
Oh,
stuff. That
man,
Corellian, I still remember him saying, "I gotta move back for this
Go
bit," and
back
then he was just gone.
That was
and
freaking out. Yeah.
I sat there through the whole Walker assault thing, just my mind blown. And then I got up and went looking for them. And I remember sitting. I remember sitting next to Gundark when all that happened, and
Yeah, and I nearly had to be carried out unconscious when Luke lost his hand. So, but we also had a unique experience with Return of the Jedi premiere, because you remember the local radio station had a contest to offer tickets to a special preview showing, and at that time we had 4 members in the Cantina Club. And we were trying, the giveaway was giving away 2 tickets per caller to the station. If you called in a specific time, and I can't remember what the rest of the contest was, you could win 2 tickets.
Yep.
And we managed to win 2 tickets, and then we were going to have to divvy them up.
Yeah, figure out which 2 were going to go.
Yep. We didn't figure out a way to win another ticket. And so we were on the telephones nonstop to try to win another 2 tickets, and we just...
I want to say...
did it, yeah.
I want to say that John, I'd have to look in the newsletter. I don't remember what his Cantina Club name was, but I want to say he's the one that was on the phone and won the first set of tickets.
Yeah.
Which made it more problematic because... who was John going to take with him, basically? and so then there was a panic, and they were giving away tickets for like a full day or 2 days beforehand. Every hour or so, you'd be the 9th caller. So we just had to listen constantly and try to be the 9th caller. And just miraculously, we got another set of passes. Do you have your pass there?
I've got the original.
Oh, nice.
Don't underestimate
that's awesome.
the Force.
It says you and a guest are cordially invited to attend.
Yeah, and then you open it up, and it gives you the full information about the showing.
Very cool.
And it also came with a promotional poster, a huge Jedi poster of Luke. I guess it was Luke's hand holding the ignited lightsaber that we put away in the attic later, and we found it not too long ago when we were unboxing things from our attic, and I took it for the 40th anniversary. We took it with us to Star Wars Celebration and had Mark Hamill sign it, and then I had it framed for Greedo's
So that's
birthday.
where that poster came from.
Yes.
It's from that give. Wow, that's amazing. That's a heck of a giveaway.
Yeah,
because that's a real theatrical poster. It's not a reproduction you'd buy at Target or whatever, or it's actually from the theater.
Yeah, it was
That's
a beautiful poster.
Impressive.
See what you got.
Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
I think I got it.
Use the Force.
A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense.
I like this thing.
So,
it really is.
Let's see, what was our big event in movie going was the Star Wars Death Pact.
Oh, yeah. 97.
Yeah. You want to tell us about the Death Pact? What inspired the Death Pact?
Well, the Death Pact, of course, was the special editions. And if you memory serves, they released, of course, original Star Wars. Then a month later, it was Empire Strikes Back, and then 2 weeks after that, it was Return of the Jedi. So once Return of the Jedi came out, they were all 3 playing in the theater at the same time. So we went in, bought our tickets accordingly to see them, and I think between the first 2, we only had maybe maybe a 30-minute gap. But then the second one, I know we actually had time. We actually ran across the street to Chick-fil-A and ate lunch and came back.
Wow.
And I remember when we came back, that's when we took the famous picture that we did, and then went in to watch Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
The
we had
picture
all
is
made,
famous.
we had a
Yes.
whole group of friends. We had the Cantina Club, and then a lot of honorary members that we have picked up over the many years of Star Wars fandom.
Yep.
Is the 20th anniversary of Star Wars, and all of the movies were out in the theater. And we swore that when they started releasing these 3 movies, that if all of them would be in the same theater, running at the same time, that we were all going to get together and see them back to back or die.
You can't.
Yes. Hence
Star
the Death
Wars
Pact.
Death Pact. And I
can't
made
do it.
T-shirts distributed to everybody who made it through. They
Yep.
had to actually
Everyone,
make it through.
you had to
all
actually
3
go through all
showings
3. Yep,
to
you had
get
to
their
survive.
T-shirt. And
I
then
won't
we
fail you.
stood outside the theater at the end and took a photo of everybody who survived the Star Wars Death Pact.
I feel the
So
force.
that was Star Wars Death Pact 1.
Exactly.
Then we had a Death Pact 2 whenever Phantom Menace came out, which
Right.
I guess was that 1998?
99.
99.
99, okay.
Yeah, so 2 years later.
Yeah, and so what we did for that was we got some of the same people together and we camped out in front of the theaters. And this was in the days
Oh my
before
God.
Fandango and before
Oh, yeah.
online purchasing of your tickets.
mistake
you'll
And
learn.
before the Phantom Menace came out, actually.
Yeah, before
People were still
before
camping out then.
prequel- before
The enthusiasm was overwhelming. Before Jar Jar, before the dark times, before Jar Jar.
And so we camped out in front of the theater, a huge line all the way around the theater of people
It is
staying
pointless.
overnight to get our tickets. And I think we got like 10 to 15 tickets for all of our friends. And then Greedo and I were the last waiting there to get them in the morning. And they actually showed a preview showing to the media. Do you remember that, Greedo? The press
Yeah.
came and saw a preview showing, and they had a couple of extra seats in that showing. They came out to people in the line. They said, "You want to come in and see the Star Wars movie?" And we looked at each other and we had to make a decision. We're like, do we go
Right.
in there and see this Star Wars movie, the first Star Wars in however many over a decade, and
Do we
leave
bail on
cast
our
members
friends?
Give
behind?
yourself
And
to
we
the
go in
dark
there
side.
and just and see it first, or do we wait and see it with the rest of the Death Pact? And we were faithful to the Death Pact. We waited. We turned
I have
down.
never heard that story. I've never heard that story. I
That
did not even
happened.
know
Yeah,
that you guys.
That happened.
Yeah,
did
we
that.
Because
turned down
we
the
were-
opportunity
we were
for a
talking
press
to the-
showing.
We were talking to the press people as they came out and asking them what they thought of it and stuff without spoilers,
Yeah.
And I can't remember if that's some of the negative impressions we heard. We heard some negative impressions before we went to see the movie,
Yeah.
but we also heard decent ones. There was most everybody said there was good things about it. It wasn't bashed immediately as hard as everybody would think now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't universally praised either. It was
The Emperor does not share your
But,
optimistic
And then
appraisal.
we had
One other-
that. Oh, no,
what's that?
go ahead, Chris.
No, so one other memory before we move on of the actual ticket buying experience that you guys went through. I don't know if you remember this. I was going to be there to get tickets with you,
Oh.
but because I was living in Nashville at the time,
Mhm.
I was actually going to drive in just to wait in line with you guys to get tickets together. And I literally the day before I was leaving, I came down with the flu.
Oh.
I still remember that. I was so mad because I wanted to be there. I mean, that's how diehard I was. I was like, I have to be there to buy the tickets. It's like not even watching the movie, just buying the tickets. And I was so mad that I had the flu and I couldn't go.
Yeah, we had all had to take off work when we did the Death Pact. Like we're adults now. We're just all gonna take off work.
You have
We all
failed me for
managed
the
our
last
schedules where we could
time.
do that. but
I still remember quite a few of the people from that line too,
Yeah.
because we spent a lot of time talking to the people and playing games with them and all night and stuff like that. You remember those people there with
it was a real
board
neat
games
Star
set
Wars
up
fandom,
and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were a lot of
Nice.
young people. I was surprised who were generations younger than us. Were waiting in line
Force will
overnight
be
to
with
see.
you.
The
And
new
what
Star
you
Wars.
notice as the years go on, from where Star Wars started to where it is now, the lines just increased. As the experiences go on, there's more and more experiences that involve really crazy long lines. When we were kids, we thought some of those lines were crazy. In Memphis, I don't know that they ever got, around the block like they did, in LA or something like that. And because we did the movie on opening, the first Star Wars on opening weekend, but like to see Empire was easy. We might have waited in line, but it wasn't like, just a massive experience. But as the years have gone on, every single Star Wars event has come with a bigger and bigger line,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Yeah.
And culminating in Celebration 2017, that was nothing but just one ginormous line.
One line, 4 days of a line.
Right.
Good luck.
Starting
now
in the
we
dark
have
before the
Fandango
sun came up.
where the queues are online now. I stayed up a good bit of the night to try to get tickets to Force Awakens. You jump forward to almost the 40th anniversary, and we were doing the same thing. Everybody who went to Death Pact was trying to get together to see Force Awakens for the special fan event, and my husband and I stayed up most of the night trying to get onto Fandango, and Fandango crashed. Do you remember? It crashed
Yeah.
as soon
I
as the
remember
tickets
very
went
well,
on
yeah.
sale. Yeah.
It'll work.
And so you got the message screen giving you the error that you couldn't get tickets, and so we kept retrying, and then finally we got tickets through the local theater website. So it really hasn't changed that much, except you're doing it online from the comfort of your living room or whatever,
Yeah,
instead of
exactly.
waiting outside in the cold.
And now it's gotten to the point you don't even wait in line before the showing because most theaters have reserved seating.
Yeah.
And so you just show up at the time of the movie and you've already got your seats. You don't even have to go in 2-3 hours early just to get a good seat. You've already got your seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And we've seen most of the movies, I guess, together when they've been first run in theaters.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Yep.
So including Rogue One, and then I don't think we got to see Last Jedi together in the theater.
No, we didn't.
Yeah,
No.
we saw it at different times.
Yep. And I think the only other one we didn't see together in the theater was Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I know we
okay.
saw Phantom
Yeah.
Menace together, like we just talked about, and Attack of the Clones together. But I know I was traveling. I was up in, like I said, I think I was in Cleveland to see Revenge of the Sith.
In one of your top 3 Star Wars movies.
What the
you
hell?
saw by yourself.
Number 3. We can refer to that as number 3 around here.
Number 3.
Who said that?
I do remember though the times when we weren't together, we were messaging each other.
Oh yeah, that's
like even to the point when the lights were going down. You're like, gotta go, lights are going
yeah,
down.
gotta go. Lights going out. Movie.
And
going
I
on.
still remember because you were in Florida and we were in Tennessee. When The Force Awakens came out, you were seeing it an hour ahead of us.
Yeah.
And we were also sitting through that whole Death Pack number 3 or whatever, where we sat all night watching all the Star Wars movies, however
Yes,
many,
we
six
saw the Star Wars
six leading into
marathon.
7. And I was like, I said, you gotta at least send me a message after 20 minutes, 30 minutes saying if you thumbs up or down, like what you think so far. You never sent me anything. I was checking like for the whole first hour that you were seeing it. I was checking I was telling everybody in the theater, Corellian's seeing it right now. Hang on, let's see if he's updated it. Nothing. You were so enraptured, you completely forgot us peons.
Yeah, and if by enraptured you mean reeling from the gut punch I was taking, then yeah, enraptured.
The Force Awakens was a gut punch.
Oh no, not The Force Awakens. I thought you were talking about Last Jedi.
No, it's Force Awakens.
Oh, okay, Force Awakens. Yeah, that I was pretty enraptured.
We had a whole row of people, and then we'd gotten to know people all night long. So that I was trying to tell them my buddy would come through with the initial impression. This total silence. Yeah, radio silence. It's like
last time.
it's no longer there. It's been totally blown away. Corellia is gone.
Let's see, what's other anniversary things that we've done for the franchise anniversary? Of the 20th anniversary, Greedo and I went to the Smithsonian's Magic of Myth exhibit at the Smithsonian's Air and Space Museum, their exhibit of Star Wars artifacts from the original trilogy, where they had a lot of the original costumes, props, including Luke's lightsaber and Darth Vader's lightsaber, I think from Return of the Jedi. They had original costumes, Luke's little black outfit from Return of the Jedi that I'm so enamored of. A lot of Ralph McQuarrie's original paintings.
Original art. Wow.
Yeah, that was an incredible exhibit.
This will be a
But
day
I
long
think the
remembered.
best thing that we did together for Celebration was Star Wars Celebration 40th anniversary, 2017, that we went to last year, the
Oh,
three
yeah.
of us
Yeah, that was
together.
amazing. Yeah,
That
that was
was
a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was a great event.
And I know at some point we're going to do an entire episode just on kind of memories of that, which I think it deserves. But yeah, that was a really really amazing experience. And honestly, what made it even better was the fact that I was able to spend it with both of you. You know, because I'd already been to the celebrations in Orlando in 2010 and 2012, and I literally went by myself both times, but I mean, I didn't care. I was there all 4 days and had a blast. But yeah,
And
it was,
Greedo
nothing
and I had
compares to
never
seeing
been
it
to
with
one
like
before.
the
We had never
Cantina
been to
Club,
one. Yeah,
Right, it was your first celebration, yeah.
Yeah, for us all to three go together, and it was so much fun to see all the actors,
hmm
go to all the panels, the wonderful costumes, except for the lines and the
Yeah.
lines and the lines.
Don't make me destroy you.
Waiting
The
on-
best thing for sure was that we were all doing it. We were all there
Exactly.
together.
We're all
Yes.
doing it
And
together. That was amazing.
yeah, that just it's like our connection on the Star Wars stuff and just our friendship just picked
Mhm.
up right where it left off. There was no break in any of that. And
No, exactly.
we all totally trust each other. Like that was an ordeal, and so you gotta
yeah.
have everybody's gotta have your back in that situation and everything. And it worked out great because of how resourceful we all were, and we didn't give up. And that was
Yep.
some long hours and not much sleep. And
Yeah, we were literally on property before 4 a.m. every morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we capped
And,
it all off with the official Cantina Club photo with Mark Hamill. We went through the photo and autograph line and had our,
Yep.
our photo taken with Mark Hamill with the Jedi lightsaber. We brought our own lightsaber, and he held it, and he was
Yep.
sick at the time.
Yep.
And I caught a cold.
we
from,
sickened him.
I got a cold from Luke Skywalker's germs. From the
Can we
lightsaber.
say best cold ever?
Yeah.
And Gundark won't allow anyone to touch that lightsaber
No,
hilt.
no,
Like
it's
you might
not.
smudge his fingerprints
No.
if you touch it. Like make sure you're holding
Don't
it
even look
by the
at it.
blade and at the very
Unless you're a club member, you can't even look at it.
Yeah. It's a holy relic
can't do
now
this.
of the
I can't
Cantina
do it
Club.
Nice.
So that's our history, a brief run through of our history. And I don't know what to say to wrap it up.
We all know around here, the Solo always does shots first. Singing yup no,
Yup, yup.
you're singing yup no,
Choo-cha.
yup no,
No.
at the Cantina Club.
Gandu